Okay, so in the last video we made our kind of hardback chair, our more quad-like chair. In this video we're going to be making the more rounded back, or how we'd approach something that has more of a rounded back, and then also how we can take that object and then, in this specific object anyway, make it into a 2 or 3 seater just by literally stretching it and not really needing to rebuild anything. So what we're going to do is just move that way. It's already been done. Let's just switch back to the normal modeling mode, and because we're looking at our reference, and I'll just grab the reference for it. There we are. So we got this. So we can see that the main kind of shape of this, to me, is more of a cylindrical back to it, because I can see the most complex objects is going to be the back of the back of the chair, which is kind of a cylinder shape, and then the easiest shape is going to be the sides, because they're a little bit more straighter. And then just like with the other one, we've got some kind of wooden frame, and then we've got very, very similar feet, and as well as a separate cushion. So we're going to approach this the exact same way we approached the last one. We're even going to approach it the exact same way that we approached the UV in. So I'm going to just put this down here, so it's not getting in the way, because obviously I'm working on one monitor for the video, so I'm just going to keep it down here. Right, so I'm just going to use this chair as some kind of like scaling guide, I guess. So I'm going to bring in my initial cylinder, and I'm going to give myself 40 edges round for this one. It's going to make it a bit higher res. Actually, I'll stick with 20. And what I'm going to do is get rid of the top and the bottom faces. Right, where's my chair? There's my chair. So top and the bottom faces, and then the front faces. So I've basically got the back of the chair like that. So I just got rid of the top of the face, bottom faces, and the front half of the chair. And then I'm just going to extrude out these two sections here to make my arm section. Now, just like with the more cube-based chair, this does have, if you look from the front, a little bit of a flare. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually add that in. I might keep it very rigid, or I might add the flare in later on. But if I was to add the flare in, I'd probably do something similar to how I did the flaring or the kind of curvature for this chair, or I could use another technique. I'll probably do that later on. So there you go. So I've made the basic shape of my chair. So if I look from the side, kind of get the basic shape. Obviously, I've not got the slant going on that we have got at this reference. This is just a flat top, but I'm going to do that later on. Cool. So then I'm going to just add an edge around the top for my frame, and I'm going to make this a bit thicker than in the reference because I want to make it jump out a bit more. So like that, like that. Okay, so this is going to be the wooden part going down into the foot. This is going to be the wooden part wrapping around. Easy, easy, easy. All I'm going to do at this stage then is just lift it up, so it's about the same level. Going to look to see if it's looking about the right size, which it is. And then I'm just going to extrude. I'm going to bring the faces inward because I feel like this outside, the faces I've got here right now that are facing outwards are the outside of the chair. I'm not working from the inside out. I'm working from the outside in. I click extrude, and then I'm going to just add that thickness to bring it in to the amount that I want. And obviously, because the faces are black, that means we need to reverse it, just like we've done before. Looking good. Now, before I get this curve going on, I am going to get some beveling going on. So, just like I do with this chair, I want to have maybe a couple of different bevels. One that's going to be smoother and bigger on the inside, and a smaller on the outside. But I'm still going to use the exact same amount of edges going around in my segments that I add. And I'm also going to do some down sides as well for the legs. Okay, so let me do the inside first. Actually, first of all, I'm going to do the... I didn't add that there, so let me just add both of those edges at the same time. So I should have added both at the same time, like that. So grab both of those, move them in. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to do the bevel around this part of the arm first to create the curve on the corner of the arm. And again, I'm just going to add one in that. I'm going to keep it really simple. There we go. Now I'm going to take the edges running all the way around like this. Add my bevel and decide how big I want this to be. So not that big. So maybe 0.4. Okay. and then add 2 segments in there so it looks like this. And the outside, I'm going to do the exact same thing but with a smaller bevel. This time I'll maybe go to 0.2. Yeah, 0.2 with again 2 segments in there. So no new tools there. It's just using the bevel that we've used before. I'm just using very precise measurements, and I'm making sure that the bevel's going all the way around. So I'm going up, around, and down the other side from the outside, and then from the inside doing the same thing, going up, around, and down the other side. Obviously, I've created n-gons both on the inside and the outside, there and there. Same thing there and there. But I can fix them later on very, very easily. In fact, I've got a nice little, because I've used all, because I've used 3 segments here, I've got a nice little way to fix this up with no triangles. In fact, let's do that now. Let's not do it. So what I'm going to do is just make an edge going across here, from this edge, all the way across there, and an edge coming down, like that. Now you're thinking, oh, I've made an n-gon there because I've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. But if I take this vertex and weld it down to here, what we've now got is 1, 2, 3 quads. Got 3 quads right there, so all good. So I'll do it 3 more times because obviously I've got to do the other bits. So I get my multi-cut tool. I'm going to drag an edge over, holding Control and Shift so it's a perfect parallel edge. Like that. And then do the same thing, holding Control and Shift to drag down to make a parallel edge. So I've got this set up. So I've got quad, quad, and then an n-gon. But then with the multi-cut tool, you can drag, snap to that corner, and that's fixed. Same thing here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. So drag an edge from here, holding Control and Shift over to the other side to complete that one, to fill that in. Then down like that. Then that. Like that. Cool. So now that sorts out any kind of issues with n-gons in the corner. And just to keep the consistency of the edges going round, I'm just going to add 2 edges going down the side here. Oops, okay, like that. So it's kind of keeping that consistent, regulated edge, like the amount of edges going round and the size of them. And then I'm going to add edges going across the middle, enough to make a square like this. Now this is all thinking that I'm going to make this kind of flare out a little bit in a sec. Cool. All good. So now what I'm going to do is jump a little bit forward and make my cushion. So my cushion, well, the back of it just traces the shape of this. So what I'm going to do is make a cylinder. And just make sure it fits inside that area. Make sure all my stuff is in the right position. So the cushion is going to be about that deep, I reckon. Make it a bit more of a cushion than we did in the other one. Now on this one, what I'm going to do is take away all the front section like this, but leave in this top section for now. In fact, I'm not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remake the cushion itself at the back to have better what we call topology. Because this pole, top and bottom here, well, less on the bottom but more on the top, this pole here, where the points come together to make a triangle, is not going to be good for us to make a nice soft looking cushion. So I'm going to make the geometry a bit different so it gives us a better result in a bit. But it doesn't make anything harder at all. So I'll just bring the edges in. There we go. So I've got this little curved shape at the back. What I'm going to do is just drag these edges forward. I'm going to look at my reference to see how proud that cushion sits. Okay, so it sits pretty much flush up with the front. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this up flush to the front. Like that. I'm going to extrude these to the middle. to form that shape. Like that. Cool. And then I'm going to start to make the interior of the chair. So I'm going to make the top half of this, because I might as well duplicate and flip it later on, just like I did with the other chair, where I basically made half a chair, then duplicated it to create the other side. I'm going to make the top part of this, then just to use that to make the bottom side. So what I'm going to do first of all is just bridge across from this side to this side. So I'm going to select this top edge here to this top edge here, bridge across, add a division in, so you can fill that up. Just make sure that is welded together, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send a couple of what we call edge flows around the mesh, going around like this, and you'll see what I mean. So what I'm going to do is on this side again, because I'm going to make half of it, I'm going to add, let's say that. So I'm going to add 3 divisions going around there, and then I'm going to select. Other side as well. Boop, boop, boop. And then what I'm going to do is select the other edges running around here, and I'm going to extrude those in. So add some thickness just to bring it in a couple of times. So I'm going to do it again, bring it in like that. So what I'm creating here, as you can see, I've got faces lining up with each other. So this is called an edge flow. Goes up and around, down, it's an edge flow, and this one goes up and around and down, it's an edge flow. Now obviously before we had something similar, but they all kind of came to a triangle. What I'm going to do is basically create quads in the middle of this. First of all though, I've got to make sure that I'm just merge them together so it's all one side piece. So what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to fill this middle area in to be all quads. So first of all, what I'm going to do is bridge from the 2 top edges here down to these 2, making this consistent through line like this, going all the way through. And then I'm going to look either side. So I've got 1, 2, 3 edges here and 1, 2, 3 edges here. Well, I know that this edge is going to go to this edge. So all I'm going to do is add 2 edges going across the middle here, like this. And then I can bridge from here to here to here to here. So close this off, but leave this area open, because now you can see it's a quad right there. Like that. And now they're all quads. So I'll go back and do that again, just to re-show you what I did. So we made this loop just by, you know, doing the mixture using like we just did. And what I'm going to do is get the middle lines, these middle edges going through. And I'm going to keep this going. I'm going to keep this as one solid kind of flow. So I'm going to grab these 2 edges here and these 2 edges down here, and I'm going to bridge like that. And though that me adding in these two middle bits here might have been like, well, why did he do that? How did he know how to do that? What did he do? What I'm doing is I'm looking at the amount of edges I've got coming up from below down here. So I've got 1 edge coming up, and the amount of edges I've got coming out from the side here. Well, I know I'm going to have an edge going up like this, so it's going to have to go up here. And then to create quads, I'm going to have edges coming in from the side across to the other side. So what I do is add 2 edges. In this case, 2 is not always a magic number. It's just because of this. I've got these 3 edges right here. Therefore, I'm going to add 2. If you had 4 edges, you'd add 3 going around the middle. And then 5, you'd add 4 going through the middle. 6, you'd have 7 going. 6, you'd have 5 going through the middle. So let me just. Oops, a daisy. Like that. Because now if I go and start to bridge across from this side to this side, you're going to see a quad appear right here. And that means we've got no triangles in here. It's a nice consistent shape. And if I just add some divisions going across the middle to make sure it looks like a square, so like that, there we go. Then I've got something ready for some really nice topology later on. Well, for to make it look smooth. Now, like I said, once I've made this, I'm going to use this to make the bottom of the chair because this is currently empty. So what I'm going to do is set my pivot point to the bottom, duplicate, so Control D, and I'm just going to hold J. For J will move in increments, so this one moves in 15-degree increments. I'm going to rotate around like that, so close it like that. Combine both sides together and merge like that. Another way you can do that is still have the pivot point in the same position, but hold J and use the scale tool to basically flip its scale. But it turns black. Now what do we do? What do we do when something turns black? We reverse it. Same though. Those are just two different ways of doing the exact same thing. So then merge like that. All good. And I'm going to take away this middle face because I don't really need it. So Control Backspace. So remember, whenever you're deleting edges, make sure you got the whole edge selected. Control Backspace. And I'm just going to grab the bottom vertexes there. And then hold snap, and I'm just going to snap it up like that. Perfect. And then we're going to do some beveling again. So I'm going to look at my reference and see kind of where the harder bevels are, or where the hardest corners are, and where the softer corners are. And all I'm going to do is follow that. Excuse me. So let me do the overall chair. So I'm going to do an edge flow running all the way down the middle like that, around the back. But I'm not going to do the bits coming down here, because if I'm looking, they're not very big bevels, they're quite small bevels. So what I'm going to do is just bevel that, add a segment in. That's nice. Or in fact, before I do that, I should really do the front here. I'll do this front section first, actually. There we go. Make that nice and big. Like that. And I'm going to do something similar I did with this, where I beveled one section of a line, an edge section. I beveled one section first, and then beveled another section the second time because I wanted two different sizes. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to bevel from here around to here. Just like round. Like that. I'm going to bevel. Oh, okay. So my original bevel, I made it as big as it can go, and sometimes that ends up merging the edges that it actually kind of bumps up to. This time it hasn't, so that's why my bevel didn't work then. It beveled, but it didn't look like it actually did anything. That's because of this edge right here, this little hidden edge. So I'm just pressing 3. So if I select these edges now, or these faces, you're not actually going to see them. So what I'm going to do, it's dead easy to fix this. I'm just going to hit merge, because they're so close together that they'll just merge into one. And I'll redo that bevel again. Make sure I'm going up to the same place. I am. Bevel. There we go. Much nicer. Like that. And then I'm going to bevel these edges going around here the same. Not the same ratio, but the same kind of way I did that. Now, again, that's created big old n-gons. Big nasty n-gons right there and there. But again, that's purely because I want the same... I want two different ratios wrapping around my object. So all I need to do now is look at this n-gon. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got 8 edges going around. So what I'm going to do is just send an edge through the middle like that to the one above it, and then one above that like that. And as you can see, it starts to fill it up, which is nice. Boom. Nice. And I'm just going to make sure that it fits nice and snug. I don't really want it to have any gaps. There we go. That's nice. And then using those sculpting tools here, I can give a bit of sculpting. All I'm going to use here is just this fourth one along the grab tool, and you're going to get this. Now, if you want to scale anything like this up, if you have a brush which has a fall off, if you want to scale this, you can just hold B for Bravo, left click, and if you move left and right, you'll size it up and down. So all I want to do is just literally slightly move it. Or in fact, you could even move it down a little bit. Make it look like it's been sat on a little bit. I like that. Just enough. Cool. That's the main part of the chair done. So what I'm going to do is combine these together, but not merge. Remember, just like with this, we're going to combine but not merge because these aren't physically separate. These aren't physically connected. There you go. And then what I'm going to do is actually give us this slant that we want for our chair. So what I've done is I've kind of eyeballed to the top back here. So this is my highest point at the back. So I'm going to lower the front down. So what I'm going to do is grab the entire thing. In fact, I can just select the whole thing, this whole section. There you go. Grab all this section. I'm going to go to deform. I'm going to go to lattice deformer. So I don't remember if I've actually covered this already, but the lattice deformer, in the videos anyway, I know I haven't in class. The lattice deformer creates a grid around the object like this. And what this allows us to do is to basically, it's like a 3D warp tool. Allows us to kind of warp the shape and do stuff with it. And in the channel box here, in shapes you'll have the, what's it called? FFD1 lattice deformer. Lovely name. And you'll have SDU. These are basically just axes in which it divides up. All I'm going to do is take the T division down to 2. So I want this. Because then what I'm going to do is just grab the two front top vertexes. If I go to my context menu, my selection menu, I should only have lattice points and object mode. So lattice points, grab the two top ones there, and I'm just going to move it down. Like that. And you can see what it's doing is it's sympathetically moving all the geometry with each other. So it's not, I'm not having like straight down here and then all of a sudden it gets really squashed edge flows up here going horizontal. Everything is sympathetic. There you go. And then when I'm done, when I'm happy with it, what I can do is just go to, delete history. So this middle one here, just delete all by type history. Boom. Because all deformers need history to be connected to the object that they're deforming. And now what I'm going to do is just give it a go. I'm going to try and give myself a little bit of that slight curve using a fun little function that kind of uses what the scaling up of now the tool that we just looked at a minute ago with how I scaled up that grab tool. Does something similar with that. So I'm going to just grab these faces. I'm going to grow the selection so I'm all that. Here we go. I'm going to press B. So some of you have made this, it's not a mistake at all. Some of you have done this already. If you press B, it turns on soft select. It'll even say at the top, soft select. Soft select is it's like a smooth blending option. We can, instead of having like this happen with a selection, we can have this happen. So this color is literally just a fall off of whatever we're doing. So I want this kind of curve here. So what I've got to do is experiment. So by default, it's going to look something like that. That's not quite right. It might look cool, but it's not quite right for what I want because this is the reference I'm using. So what I'm going to do is go up to my tool settings, so my hammer with 3 dots up at the top right. Drag that on. And in here, this is all the options for the scale tool. So we've got scale options out of there, and we've got soft selection down here. And what we've also got is little presets for the curve. So, and also a color code, you can color it if you want. Now what I'm going to do is set this to this curve profile here, but using this little box here, it's basically called a histogram. It's the same thing that's in Photoshop. What I'm going to do is just create the curve, make the curve be a bit more like this. Because if I give that a try now, like that. So what I'm doing is I'm by default the curve is like this, so it's like a bell shape, which means the top part is the like this part of the little histogram. That's the closest to the point I've selected. So as the closest part of the selection is kind of on the same power, let's call it, and as it levels off, it loses its power and then it completely goes to 0. What I want to do is I want to lose that power quite quickly, because if I scale out now, you can see that it's bending. We're literally creating that curve. If you took your head to the side anyway, we're literally creating that curve. But I don't want this section to be as affected. So what I'm going to do is just click and drag down a little bit. Too much. So I'm just going to I'm just changing a couple of settings here just to help me out. So this is really kind of not finicky stuff, but kind of just real anal stuff that I want to make sure it's right. If I'm doing this, I want to make sure it's right. So I'm just keep tweaking this little histogram just to give me the right results. There we go. I'll leave it like that. And even I'll just nudge it back a tiny bit as well. In fact, I'll just move this to the front and get back. Okay, cool. So bit of faffing around then. You don't need to do that kind of stuff, but if you want to get like that extra little bit of personality to an object, doing slight little bevels, like bends and bevels like that is really, really nice. And all I'm really doing there is just experimenting with the soft select option, which is inside the modeling toolkit up here at top right. If you don't want to truck with that, that's cool. So now I got that. That looks quite nice, that. So all I need to do now is just the legs. So I can set up a leg here very, very easily. So I want this to be actually coming out from to follow this physically follow this piece of geometry. So I'm going to grab both of these. I'm just going to scale down. Now I know I have told people not to do this, but this is a case-by-case basis. The reason why I'm doing it on this one is because you can physically see the support, the leg here. The reason why we didn't do it on tables and stuff is you don't see it joining to the table, but also the legs that are on the bottom of tables aren't physically connected outside of like nails and glue and stuff. Quite happy with that. Yep, quite happy with that, indeed. So all I did then was just scaling the faces a little bit, not in the middle like this, just using the front one, the Z-axis, just to bring it forward a little bit. Now next what I'm going to do is just make 2 legs at the back. So I'm actually going to just grab one of these legs, as we've always been doing, grab one leg, edit mesh duplicate. And I'm going to move this back. So this is going to be now my back leg. So this is, let me, I'm going to give it a bit of a curve because obviously these legs have got a bit of a curve. So I'm going to use my lovely friend, the bend deformer. So I'm going to let's add 6 edges going down the length. I don't know how much did I do. I did 5 on the other one, so I'll do 5 on this one. Like that. And then to make sure I got history and transformations defaulted, deform, nonlinear, bend. Just move the bend deformer so it's at the top, so it only bends from the top and not from the middle. And then just extend that low bound so it's all the way down. There we go. Give it a bit of curvature. Oops, it's gone the wrong direction, so I can just rotate that round. There we go. There we go. Just look at the reference on this. Yeah, that feels alright. Cool. And then when I'm happy with that, I'm just going to select the object, freeze transformation, delete history, flatten that to the ground. There we go. And then I'm just going to move this into place. So this is going to be going like here. Like there. Let's have a look front. Oh, it's not that far in, so let's bring it out. Like that. There we go. There you go. So I've just put it into place there. I'm just going to set the pivot point to the middle of the world. Ooh. Let me redo that. Accidentally moved it. So D and X to snap to the middle of the grid. Again, freeze transformation, delete history, because I don't want any of the scaling to be affected. And then I'm just going to duplicate, scale that, using my J, using my scale tool and J to kind of scale in, scale to the side, reverse, there we go. There we go, so that's that chair done. Now I've not UV'd anything on this chair just yet, but it's simple enough. Again, not hard at all to do. So what I'm going to do is look at my UVs, see the state of my UVs at the minute. So where's my chair? There's my chair. Okay, so that's what I've got. Obviously, not a good site. We've got a lot of mess. Now, the thing that's causing the most mess in this is the when I create the top of the cushion here, all this mess is from this cushion section. And anywhere else that I'd done bridging and beveling, that kind of stuff. Oh, I need to clean my N-gons up at the bottom of the feet. Okay, so how am I going to fix this? So I'm just going to put an X in here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we've got 8. So how are we going to fix this up? Oh, I'm also going to bevel the bottom of his feet as well to make it look a bit nicer. But I'll do that in a second. I'll just fix up these N-gons first. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is do this. So I'm doing this just to close up this triangle here. Then I'm doing this to close off that triangle. Doing that. And that. Okay, that's how I'm going to do it. Easy. So I'll do that 3 more times because obviously it's going to be the same for each leg. So create a little triangle there, little triangle there, and then just to clean up this big N-gon here, just using multi-cut to do that. Go. There you go. I just need to go through and grab all those edges. Now it's important that I make sure I get the right edges selected on this. And ideally, I should have actually done this on the one leg first for these back legs. And even for the front legs, I could have done some clever stuff, but It doesn't take us 2 minutes just to select all those edges, because then I can bevel these the same ratio all at the same time. Let's make sure I've got everything correct. Oh, that's correct. Oh, that's correct. Cool. So then I can just bevel these. There we go. I think just a little kind of like messing around bits. What I'm going to do is grab all the, from that new bevel, I'm going to grab the top edge that gets created. I'm just going to drag the whole thing up a touch using my lovely modeling toolkit transform constraint. I'll slide those up the length a little bit, just to add a bit of extra bevel. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Just little touches, little touches. Right then, so yeah, let's UV this. So I'll move my reference out of the way, get my UVs up. There you go. So yeah, the mess of this is basically coming from the cushion. But I'm going to approach this the same way that I've approached in the other chair. So I'm going to do the big detail for me, which is the backrest. This is all one solid piece. But I'm definitely dealing, if I look at my reference, with multiple different materials. So I'm going to go and just isolate everything except this off. I'm going to grab all the fabric sections from the inside and the outside first. Now while I'm doing this, if I'm working on an object that I'm really not too familiar with, this is a time, while I'm selecting these faces, again I'm kind of thinking, oh maybe I should approach it like this, maybe I should UV like this. This is a time for me to analyze and examine the surface closer so I can decide, right, am I going to do this as a double extrusion, a double extrusion. Am I going to do this as a cylindrical unwrap? I'm going to do this as a planar, whatever. So I need to just isolate this actually. There we go. So yeah, let's go back and reselect them. So yeah, I'm going to analyze the surface a bit more, decide what I'm going to do for that first projection. Because again, I keep reminding people that at the beginning when you're UVing, you're dealing with a mess. So stage one is just to separate chunks out into something that's even remotely recognizable. It doesn't have to be finished. The fact is it's not going to be finished at first. We're just getting things laid out first. Like that. So yeah, I could do this as a planar projection, because then I can look down. I could look down either the X or the Z. Probably Z's going to be better, because if I'm looking down the Z, I'm biased down the X. I'm looking down the bias of one of the angles. So I'm looking at this arm. So when I unfold it, it might not unfold the way I want to. But if I look from the front or the back, what I'm doing is I'm looking at either the front or the back. So I'm looking symmetrically at the object. So I've got as much on the left side than I have on the right side. So when I unfold that, it's going to be perfect. That's a video planar. Excuse me. That's a video planar. If I do cylindrical, I don't have to necessarily worry about that. All I've got to worry about is moving the seam. So it will be back here. I'm going to do a cylindrical, just so we can use these tools a lot more. So I'm going to do cylindrical projection. There we go. Obviously the seam is at the back. You can see here that the projection is split in half, which isn't what I want. If this was a piece of fabric which did have a seam down the back where some chairs do, then you could literally use that to your advantage. But I want this to be one big solid piece of fabric going around front and the back. So with that selected, with that first projection done, what I'm going to do is just hunt for that little red X. Click the little red X, and then I'm going to find that blue sphere, that blue circle appears. Then I'm going to click the blue sphere to access my rotation. And all I'm going to do is rotate it and look where the seam is moving. And I'm also going to pay attention to what's happening on in my UVs. And I'm just going to rotate that till it's one big solid piece. Like that. Oops. Make sure I've got that transform constraint edge slide turned off. There we go. All I need to do obviously is just flip my blue. Now luckily this is all one big solid piece. So all I need to do is unfold this horizontal legacy. So I'll do that on both of them. legacy, horizontal, bash. We're good. And I'm going to start applying that textile density number to these already. So again, 5.12 pixels per unit or pixels per centimeter over a 2K map. So I'm going to get this. So while I'm starting to unwrap everything, I might as well start to apply that textile density and, you know, see how things lay out. Okay, so that's that bit done. I'm going to move on to the cushion now. So let me just isolate this off. There we go. And what I'm going to do is grab the top section like I did in class. I'm going to grab the top section round to the front and treat that almost like you got a top piece and it's being folded over and sewn underneath, because the seam's going to be back here. So let me make sure I've not got anything selected. Like that. So what I've done is I've grabbed all the inside, because I know I'm going to take this the selection up to this edge right here. I want this edge going all the way around to effectively be where my seam is. So with all that selected, I'm just going to shift full stop just to grow the selection. You can do it exactly like how I did then, but as long as you, if you're following me word to word, this is what you should have. But if you're doing a chair which is slightly different, just really think about how a fabric is being upholstered around an object and where the seams and where the folds are going to be met and all that kind of jazz. Really think about that. So this, I'm just going to do a planar projection from the y-axis, because that's where a majority of the information is, right there. Oh, we have something going wrong. Oh, okay, right, okay. So again, this isn't a bad thing, because we can always fix it later on. We've accidentally pulled off some of this information, this wooden information here. We've accidentally pulled some of that off. I don't know how. But you know what, that's not bad, because that's like already kind of part UV'd for us, so I can grab those later on, and those are part of my legs, not the whole. I don't know what my selection's going and doing there. Okay, so I can move those to the side. So they're just going to help me select stuff later on. Anyway, that's my cushion section. There you go. So I can just do a vertical for that one, because now I want to basically lay it out vertically, because it's longer than it is wider. Do vertical unfold. Boom, perfect. We can check that checkerboard. That's lovely. Now I'm just going to grab the bottom bit. Oh, I've got n-gons on the side here that I need to fix. But remember, if you're adding edges into something, it won't destroy your UVs. It's only when you extrude, bridge, bevel, that can destroy your UVs. Adding edges in, like to fix stuff like that, shouldn't be an issue at all. So I've done that. Okay, so that's my bottom bit selected. I'm just going to do another planar Y. That'll need a flip because it's facing the opposite direction. And then I can just do, it won't need one, but I'll just run and unfold just because it's a force of habit. Okay, so let's fix up these n-gons. What's our n-gon situation? Okay, so we've got this bit. So what I'm actually going to do is grab this and drag it back a little bit. Like that. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is simple. I just need to take an edge from one edge to another. From one corner to another. So I think I might go from here down to there. Like that. Or maybe there to there. I'll do there to there. It doesn't look super clean, but these are going to be hidden. So I'm not too fussed. If I forget that they're there, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So let's make sure I've got nothing selected. I'm just going to go through and select all the outside sections. Basically all the bits that I've not UV'd yet for the cushion, including these bits. Now for this as well, I'm going to do a cylindrical, because just like with the back of the chair, this is sharing most of that information. More of that cylindrical information. Oh, I forgot some faces there, so I'll need to re-UV some stuff. Okay, so yeah. Do cylindrical on that one. Oh. In fact, if you accidentally, you know, you forget to rotate around selection, It's not a worry. It's not a worry at all, because what you can do is literally just sew these two parts back together. So I've accidentally forgot to rotate my projection round. But if I go to edge mode, I can literally just sew those back together. Like that. There we go, done. And then I can just run my horizontal unfold just like I did with the seat. There we go. Job's a good one. So yeah, like I said, I've forgotten to actually add some faces onto a projection. So what I'm going to do is just add those in. So boop, boop, boop. There we go. Planar project. Do a flip. Oh, that doesn't look right. Oh no, it looks right. And then I'm going to do just a vertical unfold just to see, you know, just to force a habit unfold. There you go. So it has unfolded, but it's probably not unfolded enough to be noticeable. But anyway, so that should be all the cushion done. Check in. Yep, that's all that done. So what we've got left now is the frame. So yeah, I accidentally unfold and the legs. So I accidentally projected some stuff before, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means I've got part of it done already. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to see what I actually had selected, which is all that. And I accidentally projected these bits as well. So I'm actually going to deselect these bits because I don't actually want those. Because again, if we look at our reference for our seats, I don't know how well it's coming up in the video there, but there is a cut across the arm here. Because this will be like one piece of wood here, and this will be another piece of wood here. This won't be one solid piece of wood. So what I'm going to do is UV it like that. So I'm just going to select these. And just to separate them off for now, I'm going to go to mesh, to cut and sew, and then cut shell, cut UV shell at the top. So that'll cut the entire shell away from these bits. So just got this. So here's, I went over this in class, and hopefully it makes some sense. But when you're dealing with curvy C shapes like this, sometimes it's quite hard to get those to kind of understand how to get those to be a straight line. So I've got a bit of a trick to do this, but it means me having to add a few steps to my process. So I've reprojected everything. All I need to project at first is this, so I've got something laid out. And then I'm going to grab the top of the chair here. Like this. Just this top run of faces going around there. And I'm going to cut that off using the UV shell cut. So create UV shell. So I'm just dealing with this. Now you're thinking, why is he doing this? Why it's so confusing? It is a little bit confusing just because it's not a natural thing for us to do. You know, we're not built. This isn't how you'd approach building furniture from wood and fabric. But what I've got to think about is this is almost being like vinyl wrapped around a piece of geometry. When we think about textures, it's almost like a vinyl wrap around an object. So I've got to think about areas of the most stress, areas of the least stress, where I can lay stuff out straight as a strip. How can I? What are the most important parts? What's the most straightest element of this that I can lay out, and then I can build stuff on top of it. So with me, the very top of this is the simplest shape of this whole wooden upper section. So I'm going to get that on its own. I'm going to turn that into a strip, and then I'm going to sew all the other stuff onto that. So we've got this, and what I'm going to do is just grab the very end piece of both sides. I'm going to grab this end piece first. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm just going to hold X while I do this so it's in line, and I'm going to put it there. I'm going to grab the other piece, and I'm basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold J, rotate around 90 degrees, and hold X. Oops, a daisy, come here. There. I'm going to hold X. I'm going to snap it to the grid like that. And then both of these sections, I'm going to grab the UVs for both these sections, that bit and that bit. And I'm going to pin them. Basically, I'm going to pin them so they won't move if I do anything else to them. So I'm going to go to Edit and then Pin Selection. Boom, there you go. So they're blue because they're being pinned. And now, just to kind of help me straighten this up, I'm just going to select the whole thing. I'm just going to unfold 3D. Apply that. So that's going to do something. why I'm doing that is I'm just trying to get everything in the middle, kind of as straight as I can. And then I'm going to use some simple tools. I'm going to grab all the vertexes, or all the UVs at the top, move them up. All the UVs at the bottom, move them down. Because now all this top group here, I want to align to this top UV here. So I can use that align and snap tools in my right hand side. That's just behind my head, sorry. I'll move my head. There you go. So right here in align and snap. And I'm going to use the very last one. So all my UVs that I moved up, I want them to align to the lowest UV, which is this one. So I'm going to just far right one there. Boom. Now everything is aligned. And do the same thing but in reverse. For these ones I want to align to the top. So the upmost UV here. Boom. There you go. And then if I unpin everything, so go to unpin, I'm just going to hit that with a horizontal unfold just to make sure it's nice and long. So we're not crushing anything. So legacy, horizontal unfold. There we go. So now that piece is done and ready. The last thing before we start sewing this all stuff together is just grabbing everything else to do with that cluster. And then I'm going to do a dirty automatic unwrap or automatic projection. Because all I want to do is I just want to get these laid out in a better state. So I'm going to automatic projection. We're going to get a bit of a mess here, but it's all good because I'm going to... I love it when it does this. Let me just invert that selection. And then reverse it. There we go. Yeah, I love it when it does that. It's so helpful. Move those out of the way for now. Someone's not liking what they're doing. There we go. Right. Cool. So all I was doing there was just moving out to the side. For some reason, Maya's got this new thing on my system where when I project, I can't move certain UVs straight away. I have to kind of reselect them. Anyway, now that I've got that, all I'm going to do is cut all these up into individual chunks. So select them all in face mode. Cut and sew, move and sew. Cut. Sorry, cut and sew, cut. And then I'm just going to apply that textile density to all of these now. So I'm going to apply that to this. So my textile density, I'm going to apply it to my strip. And then I'm going to apply it to all these bits, just so everything is the right size, like that. So you can see how everything's a separate shape. And you might be thinking, oh my god, there's a load of stuff here, what we're going to do. Don't worry about it. Trust me. So on my strip here, I'm going to come to each end. I'm going to select the face. I'm going to select the face at the end there, or the edge at the end, not the face. And I'm just going to sew. Cut and sew, move and sew, because that's going to bring the edge back to the front. So I'm going to, like that. I'm just going to look to where I'm sewing. That's right there. So you can see the blue lines are appearing. Like that. So I don't want to go any further than this. And I can go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Straighten that up. Move and sew. There we go. Now I'm also using G for last use tool, just like I did with the other seat. When I press, once I've used the tool, once I press G, doing the same thing, it'll repeat the tool again. So if I'm using a lot of cut and sew, move and sew, I'm just going to press G when I've got an edge selected. So I've got all those bits selected. So what I'm going to do now is just select all the inner edges, and you can see me kind of the selection growing in the viewport there, all the way up to there. And I'm going to sew that again. So I'm going to sew that on there. Press G. So you see I'm starting to lose faces here now from my little mess. And I'm starting to bring them onto here. So I can need to make it a bit bigger as well. Be easier to see. So I literally just had all those middle sections selected. It doesn't matter if I've got any of the thin blue lines selected because they're already sewn together. You can't sew an already sewn edge. So cut and sew, move and sew, boom. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Select all that middle section. Cut and sew, move and sew. I just want to make sure that I'm not overdoing it because I'm going to look to where I'm sewing to because I don't want to sew this edge here. So the last one, like that. So that should be the same both sides. Yes. So now I'm just going to sew all these middle sections together, because all these like little triangle sections are faces that haven't been sewn together. So I'm just going to grab all those, sew them together. Awesome. And do the exact same thing on this bit. So also moving so. Now because I've got this little setup here with this section here, I've got to be careful about what I'm sewing. I don't want to over sew anything. So this is going to be a bit of an issue here. All I've got to do is just experiment and just try it out, see what goes on. So I'm going to cut that edge again. I'm just going to give this a try. I'm going to see if I move this UV. I'm gonna leave that for now. So I'm gonna leave like this for now. It's a bit of a weird thing, just because we've got this. We had that that flow we made to sort out these N-gons here. We had this section. But actually, what I'm thinking, actually, I might re-sew this. I'm gonna sew on these two edges first. So I'm gonna sew these two edges first, and then do that. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm not going to sew these two edges on here. So I'll do it again on the other side, obviously. Well, I've got to do it 2 more times anyway. So here, like that. Yeah, so I got the same kind of shape. I got this shape running round. So I go on the other opposite side, do the same jazz. So let me. There we go. And then don't want to sew them together. Cool. Awesome. So that should be all the little, yes, there's no more UVs left over from that little mess. So everything is now here. I am going to do a test. I'm just going to go to modify unfold options. Not that one. We change it to unfold 3D. See what it does, because it might actually help me out a little bit with this. No, it doesn't. It turns into a C shape, which is, this is not the shape I want. So what I'm going to have to do is just be a bit more manual about this, because I'm going to straighten everything up now. So I'll straighten horizontally and then I'll straighten vertically. So I'll go from the middle, so this middle edge right this. I'm just going to select that one, and then again in my line of snap to the bottom right here, I'm going to snap to the middle, which is the 5th one along. There we go. And this one, the one underneath it, looks like it needs to be snapping upwards because everything goes down at each edge. So I'm going to go snap up. And then it's looking like it's going to be the same jazz for this one because everything goes down at the end here. So I'll just snap that up. Oops, it is here. Like that. So this, I think I'm going to snap this one up as well. Yeah, I'm going to snap that one up. Cool. So from that middle line then, I just snapped everything upwards. So in my brain I'm thinking, well, on the upper side, that's going to be the opposite. So I'm going to snap everything downwards. So let me snap this row down, this row down. Go to the other side, select these two down. And then running across the top, all this is going to go down as well. That was a big jump, that one. Where was... Where? Okay, so... This one, I think, might need a middle. Instead of going to the bottom, because that's going down too much now. Oops, is it? Yeah, that upper edge is going down too much. I'm going to align this to the middle, so that's that fifth one along, like that. That feels a bit nicer. Cool. Now, we've got this little junction right here on both top and bottom, left and right. So I'm going to do is just grab that middle edge there and again, snap it to middle, grab this one, snap it to middle, go to the other side, grab these two, snap to middle. Actually, no, this lot, all this top group here needs to snap to the same place. There we go. And same, I'll grab both these two vertexes, two UVs there for that little C junction thing. And these two, and I'm going to snap that to the middle like that. So now everything horizontally is looking good. Now vertically, I have to line those up. So I'm going to find the middle. So that's my middle. How's my middle looking? Middle looks pretty solid, but I'll just do a merge, a line to middle to make sure. And everything to the right, to here, looks like it needs to be aligning to the left-hand side. So what I'm going to do is go around and just... grab these two. Like that. So now that's straight. Oh, not quite. There we go. Oh, that's straight now. And then everything from the middle to the right, to the left-hand side, or this group needs to be aligned to the right-hand side. Like that. Boom. Now you might have seen this turn on every now and then where everything goes kind of white and you might see red and blue. This is another kind of check that you can do, and some people might have turned it on and gone like, what am I looking at by accident? So what this does is it gives you kind of like a heat map over the surface. You can see there's like clusters of blue, clusters of red, and some kind of grey. What this is doing is telling us that if anything is extended, it turns blue, and if anything's compressed, it turns red. Because I'm dragging these UVs out here, I'm extending them, stretching the UVs. So blue means stretched. Red means it's being compressed. Now I don't really know why. I guess because it's part of the same mesh. This is getting to be too compressed relative to this, and this is getting to extend too stretched compared to this. Ideally, in a perfect world, this whole thing should be grey, but that isn't going to happen. Because there's always going to be some points of stress and some points of stretch. So some points of compression, some points of stretch. But yeah, if you ever see me turn that on, that's all I'm doing. I'm just checking to see if it's overstretched or anything like that. So with that, what I was doing is checking that I was aligning to the right. You know, if I aligned everything downwards, I had turned that on, and all that top section was red because it was being compressed too much. So I thought, okay, that needs to be aligned to the middle instead. That's all it means. And again, if you hover over it, it'll actually tell you what it does. UV distortion. Identify areas of UV shell that are stretched, color red, or compressed, color blue. And yeah. Cool. So that's that done. That's the top of the chair done. So let's bring it back with the rest of the family. What else have we got? What's left is basically the rest of the legs. Oh, and this bit, we forgot about this bit again. So what I'm going to do is just do this bottom section that I keep forgetting about every time. This little ring section here. Because what I can do is I can UV this the same way I UV the top of the armrest, the top of the wooden section. So I'm going to plane that project it again. Flip it because it's red. And then just do that whole thing where I grab that. Straighten up like that. grab you, hold J, straighten up like that. I just want to make sure that I'm holding X and snapping them so they're at least in line with each other. And then I'm going to grab all those, pin, select the entire thing, do an unfold 3D, just to bring everything kind of somewhat in line. And then again, grab all the UVs at the bottom, move them down, grab all the UVs at the top, move them up. And then so all these top UVs here, I want them to align in in line with this UV here. So they're all going to align downwards, which is a 6th aligned option here. And everything here, I need to align to the top, so that's aligning upwards. Boom. Now I just realised this, dude. What are you? I've got a little face, a little rogue face, and I don't know where it belongs. Oh, it's here. Okay, so I've got a face missing from there. Interesting. There you go. So yeah, so I straighten that out. So then if you unpin everything, I can just run the horizontal unfold just to straighten it out. Nice, good. And in fact, let's get that ratio thing going on. There we go. So get everything to be the same size, and somewhat closer to what the size of what a UV for this texture would need to be. There you go. So yeah, what's left? It's the legs. So all I'm going to do is planar project this from the Z-axis just to get something laid out. I shouldn't have anything left over, no little weird bits. Nope, we're all good. And then with this, all I'm going to do is just find the edge I want to cut, and also cut the bottom of the feet off. So let me grab all the bottom of the feet. Cut that shell. So I can just move those out of the way for now. Have I done another silly thing? Whatever. It's leaving selections behind, and I don't like it. So I'll do that again, because for some reason I still had the top of the chair selected in face mode. So let me just select these faces at the bottom. Yep. And then we just cut shell, so then I can just move those off to the side for now. And the with legs that's left behind, all I'm going to do is find edges to cut. So where's the player not going to see? Well, it's going to be not seeing that one, so I'll cut down there, and I'll mimic this. So this is the front leg here. I'm basically doing the inside of the front leg. Cutting that. I'm going to do the inside of the back leg here. And then each of these can get hit with an unfold horizontal. There we go. And now we can straighten those out in a second. And then I'm just going to grab these. Just do a planar projection on these boys as well, but in the y-axis. There we go. Flip them because they're red, because they're facing away from the camera, obviously. There we go. So let's straighten up these first. So I'm just going to straighten up that middle edge there, and then everything to the left hand side, I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to align to the left. I believe. Let me check the checkerboard and just see how that kind of feels. Yeah, that feels alright. Because if I do this, it might not. It might be a bit. Yeah, we'll align to the left. So it's not always everything to the left hand side aligns to the right, and everything on the right hand side aligns to the left. It purely depends on how the unfold has happened. So if I align that middle edge, if I find the middle most edge, align that one to itself, then I can tell the either side, okay, or the right hand side needs to align to either left or right, and left hand side vice versa. And then everything to the right hand side on this side. Boom. And then I'm just going to align the middle to itself. Perfect. And then do the same thing here. So find that center edge, align it to itself, so everything on the left hand side aligns to the left. Everything on the right hand side aligns to the right. And then align the middle to itself. There we go. And now we've just got the big legs. So we'll do the same thing. We'll find the center edge, which is going to be this one. Yeah, so we'll align this one to itself. This will get a little bit messier because this is actually going to, I think this is going to overlap itself a little bit. Oh no, okay, it doesn't overlap itself, but the distortion is a little bit greater on this because of this curve here. But I align that center edge to itself, so now that center edge is nice and aligned. So everything to the left of it is going to be aligned to the left. Everything to the right of it is going to be aligned to the right. Like that. Which means on this one it's going to be exactly the same, but reversed. So this is aligned to the right. And everything is aligned to the left. There you go. Oh, almost. I've forgotten this one. So we'll check the UVs look the same. We'll check the checkerboard, make sure it's not completely goofed. That's good enough. And then I'm just gonna straighten everything to itself, going horizontal. Now I want to reiterate as well, I've said this before, but this doesn't have to be the process for everything. Not everything needs to be aligned or made into one of these nice little rectangles. It's easier to do with these kind of objects, simpler shaped objects, because the shapes are simpler, and any kind of bend and bevel that's in there isn't going to be really, really windy. It's going to be close towards a curve, or it's going to be simple enough to be able to straighten out. As soon as you go into the realm of more complex objects, it gets harder to do, or it's less useful to make everything into a rectangle. And that is the whole chair. Oh, tell a lie. So let me grab textile density off this, apply it to all of it. There we go. So I just need to sew the feet back on. So I think I'm going to sew them on at the back here. Like that. And leave it as is. There we go. And then 5.12 pixels across a centimeter. And that's all the UVs for this chair done. And again, depending on if you're going to be making a unique texture or a tiling texture trim sheet approach to this, you lay out your UVs however you want. But we're just gonna lay them out for like cleanliness sake. Perfect. So said, we can also make this chair into a longer, wider chair. So we're going to do that. I'm going to duplicate it, obviously. It does mean we're going to lose some of these UVs, but UVing this isn't going to be hard. So I'm going to move my chairs back there, like that. What I'm going to do is, first of all, go from the top, and I'm going to delete literally half the chair, the whole half of the chair like that. Just make sure the whole thing is, I can see it's a bit wavy because of what I did with the sculpting tool. Just make sure the whole thing is aligned like that. Okay, so I've literally deleted half the chair because what I can do now is carefully doing this, piece by piece doing this. I'm going to, and you can see what UVs have been left behind. I'm going to Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to hold J and invert this and turn off that for now. So basically I've got these two pieces. So if I bring them close together, I could do that like that. You know what, I could even just take half of the chair, make sure the middle section is nice and straight. I could literally take half the chair and separate it. So if I do that another different way, just to show you that there are different ways of doing the same thing. So what I did then was delete half of it, duplicate the bit I had left behind and flip it. What you could also do is just select one whole half of it and then separate it, and then you have the exact same thing. In this case though, it separates everything into different chunks, so all you got to do is combine them back together, set your pivot point like that. So you have the same thing going on there. Again, two different ways of doing the exact same thing, but I've got this anyway. And in fact, I'll just bring that back together, make it one solid piece. Combine. Actually, I'll fix that up in a second, because I can't just combine and merge it, because things will merge into themselves. Anyway, so I've got my two parts of my chair there. However you get to this point, I've got two parts of the same chair. So I will combine them together, and what I'm going to do is bridge across certain bits. So I'm going to bridge my main back piece here across, like that, and then I can I can do what I want in the middle like that, just to give the right information. Or I can leave that blank for now, because the problem we now have is that the cushion is wrong. If I make a big long seat like this, I'm going to have to approach the seating area a little bit different. So I'm actually going to delete one of these, and actually will fully separate this off. Now on this particular item, what I'm going to do is make I'm going to make a board that goes across the bottom of this for the cushions to go on top of, rather than a single seat being made into the whole body. I feel like that'll just be a little bit more realistic. But first of all, what I'm going to do is just get a kind of proxy cushion width in place. So I'll make a cushion. Make my old-fashioned cushion like that. There we go. And I'm going to see if I'm going to make this a 3-seater, and how many of these can I get across from each other. So put a pivot point on one of the edges. Come here. Pivot point on one of the outsides. Maya is loving me today. There you go. Okay, so that's the width of my seat. All I did was just use 3 cushions just to decide how wide it is, and I just made sure those cushions were absolutely up to each other. So what I'm going to do is once again, well, not once again, I'm going to delete one half. See, well, just yeah. It's a lot of back and forth, because whenever I'm modelling, a lot of time I'm kind of making decisions on the whim. I've not got most of the time anyway, I've not got a clear roadmap of what I'm doing. I'm modelling something, I'm making decisions as I'm going. So because of this, I'm thinking, well, I could make this look really, I could get this perfect by, you know, sacking off that end bit that I had then. Don't really need that now. I'm just going to extrude this middle section out. I'm going to bring this group to the middle of this middle cushion. So now that is giving me the very middle of the couch, which means now I can do that duplicate flip thing. So duplicate, move the pivot point to the middle, scale, hold R, hold J, sorry, invert, there you go. So now that's a perfect seat width. There we go. Cool. Okay, so we've got the main body of the seat working. However, again, however you get there, I will just add. Do I need to add edges? I'll leave the edges like that for now. This, the topology like this for now. I will move these up a touch, or I will. In fact, what I'll do, I'll squash them down and move them up. Yeah, do that. Because what I'm going to do is make a bottom piece to this. How am I going to make that bottom piece? Ooh. Okay. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave them there. Again, making these decisions on the fly. Literally making this like this for the first time. So you're modeling along with me. So whenever you're doing this as well, feel free to either slow down the video, because you can do that on YouTube, or literally pause the video and do what I'm up to, move me back. Because I am going to be making decisions on the fly, and it might mean I'm like, oh, you know what, sack off what I've just done. Because this just shows you how I think about stuff, how we can think about stuff. What I'm going to do is use what I call a jig to make the bottom of this. And what I mean by jig is something that is it uses a pre-existing shape to create the rest of the shape. So my jig for this one is going to be the bottom part here, because I want basically a bottom a panel to go on the bottom of this chair here. So what I'm going to do is grab all these faces here and duplicate those by edit mesh duplicate. So now I have a separate bit of geometry there. Move it down slightly. So this is going to be the bottom of my chair, kind of, for now. Again, we'll make decisions in a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bridging this section closed to make it just a big flat thing. But by using this shape, what happens is this internal edge is maintained. So this internal curve here is maintained. I'm not doing any guesswork. You don't have to do it like this. You could literally make another piece of geometry like we did when we made the cushion for the first single-seater. Make a cylinder and then create it for you doing that. This is just another way of doing it. There's a million and one ways to do the same thing. Okay, so I'll grab these two. And I'm going to try and be neat with this. So I'm going to do that whole edge flow thing that I did before. So I've just basically made an edge, well, 3 edges in the middle, scaled out the 2 on the sides to kind of get close to the edge. And then I'm going to extrude, offset that inwards. Twice. So I'll do that. So I'll need to add another edge going across either side of here. There we go. And I'm doing that same thinking. So what I've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 edges going around here. So I'm using the same thinking I did with the cushions, where if I've got 6 edges going around here, I'm going to add 5 going around the middle. So like that. I'm going to 5 in there. That's because I can then start to bridge these faces together. And I should be left over. Oh, well, that's why it's not doing that. Let me just sew these 2 things together. Same for these 2. Then for these 2, then for these 2. There you go. So start bridging, and I might have added not enough. But yeah, I'll add another one. So I'll go back and add another one. In fact, you know what I can do? I can, if I've got 6 going across here, I can add 6 in this case because I'm not worried about the bendy topology. I just want to basically fill the space up on this flat surface, but keep it neat, keep it clean. So what I'm going to do is match the same amount of edges. So still just fix those 2 bits up there. Those 2 bits. So again, this might be all a bit confusing, but I'm going back and forth to make while making decisions, because what I'm thinking now is, if I've got 6 edges going like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if I add 6 edges going through the middle, I can literally just start target welding them in together. Now that wouldn't be good on top of the cushion because that doesn't give me enough information to have smoother surface. On here, because it's a flat surface, it's totally fine. Because there's no curves or bends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So with this now, I should be able to just straight up see? Take weld them up. There you go. And just to do a little bit of a just going to clean these up a little bit. Now this is me just kind of being a bit of a OCD, make sure everything's neat-ish kind of person. If I need to, I'm going to clean up that later on. But again, that's just a flat surface. I don't really care. I could probably make it better. Anyway, I've made that shape as long as winded as that was then. And I'm just going to extrude up. Oh, in fact, I'm going to extrude forward here. So grab these faces. So not the very end 2. I'm just going to grab these 6 through the middle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to extrude that forward. Like that. And here's a wacky bit. I'm going to delete this end bit. Because this bit already exists. This bit I've got selected here already exists because it's part of this here. So what I'm left with now is the excess. So I can bring that in like that. And I can just extrude up a tiny bit. So now if I extrude up, again flip those faces. And then I'm just going to put the cushions on top. So that was a bit long-winded and maybe a bit confusing at times just to get something like that, but this is the way I kind of think when I'm modeling, is that I'm being presented with a problem and then I'm going to solve it with that. Is that the best way to do it? Probably not. It's probably, you know, I'll probably come back later on and go, you know what, I should have done that. But what I've got is what I wanted. Cool. Now the last problem of this is the cushions. Because I've got, if we really think about it, we've got 2 types of cushions for this. We've got a square one that will be in the middle, and then we've got a square and a round one, which will be in the corners. So this will get a bit wacky. Because what I'm going to do is delete one cushion, bring that to the corner. In fact, I don't need to do that. I'm doing things ass about face here. Bring you back. So yeah. So leave this one where it is, and leave this one where it is. Delete this middle one. Or if I leave it there, because I can use this again as a jig to know how far I need to bring this new cushion section up. So what I'm going to do is make a square piece of this cushion just by using a cube. and just matching some of the edges up. So I'll make a cube, snap it into place, roughly into place, like that, and just start to kind of match up the dimensions. So bring the back. See, well, I'll isolate all these off together. So I'll bring the back in line with this. Bring the top, you know, somewhat in line with this, and bring the sides somewhat in line with this. Okay. So this will become my new part of the cushion. Like I said, I'm going to leave this here just so I know that I don't need to go any further, so I can get the right size cushion. Okay, so I'm going to delete that inside face there because that's facing into the pillow, so I don't need that. I'm just going to doing some bevels, so let's do the nice big bevel here and get something, you know, roughly in place the same. Then I can match up these edges. Like that. There we go. And I should be able to just do the rest of them now. There you go. So I'll bevel, make them all a little bit smaller, and then add a segment so they're all the same. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm matching up. Like here, I've got 3 edges that I can match up. So I'm going to do the same thing. So match up that, match up that, match up that. Go around to the back. I've not beveled that. Okay, so I'm going to make a decision on this one. I'm going to bevel this. So I'm doing a bit of fixing on the go. So we'll have to re-UV this. I'll look at the UVs anyway to see how they've been changed, but I'm not too fussed about that because UV is that simple. Even if I have to re-UV the entire cushion again, it takes me seconds to do. So there, I'm just line those up, line these up. So all the contact points of those bevels have been lined up now. So all I've got to do now is line up the edges going horizontally across it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 8 edges, so let me do this. Just add those edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So now I should be able to line these up. Now again, look how I'm not actually using any new tools. This is all the same tools that we've been using since day one. All I'm doing is using them in more complex, expressive, I'm going to say logical ways as well. There's some kind of like weird logic happening with modeling. So I'll do the same thing. Got a bit of a wonky. Don't know why you're being a bit weird. Why are you being different? There we go. Again, I'll fix up this end-on, but later. Okay. So I'll just the ones at the bottom I'm just going to match up. In fact, I can combine and then start to just do merges on these as well. So everything that has been lined up already should just merge in straight away. Although it's got a bit of a problem there. Oh, that's why that's not properly merged in. There we go. But we've got problems here, so this is where we can just go through. I like going into the side the mesh to do this as well. So I'm going inside the mesh. There we go. I'm just going to merge these two together. Go to the next one. Press G. Next one, press G. Because again, that last use tool is really useful for this. Because the last use tool was merged, so... Oh, have we messed up here? What's... Ah, okay. We can move that back. Straighten you up a little bit. Because I need to do that thing again. fact, I can redo this whole section better. So put an edge going all the way around the middle like that. Can do that. And I'm just going to go, yeah, I'm just going to send one around like that. So send one right that. There we go. Lovely. There we go. So I'm solving stuff as I'm going along. Because the more the object takes shape, the more I'm seeing things start to appear. Things I'm like, okay, I'll fix that by doing that. I'll fix that by doing that. Right, cool. And then let's add edges in there again, just to get the squares back, to make it nice and consistent. So it's all like the same regulated polygons. Cool. And I'm actually just going to attack this very carefully with one of my sculpting tools. It's this third one along, the relax tool. And we're going to hold B, make it a bit smaller. Because what I'm doing this for is just to, any of the wonky geometry underneath, I'm just going to straighten up. Same for the top. Any wonky geometry, I'm just going to smooth it. Well, not smooth it, I'm going to relax it. So it should get more evenly distributed. But what I'm not going to do is touch the surface, touch the edges. Because that's where I get really big. Unless that actually works. No, it's not going to work. Yeah, I'm not going to touch anything around the edge because that's where it starts to try and smooth it out and it doesn't work. There we go. So I've got one of these cool little cushions. In fact, I can get rid of you for now. So, boom, that's done. So I can UV that, and I'm not going to bother UVing it for this because, you know, the UVing process is the same. To get it onto the opposite side, what I can just duplicate it, set my pivot point to the middle of this middle cushion, because remember, this is the middle of the seat, and I can just hold J, flip it, and then reverse faces. Smashing. So now I've got the two end cushions. But what about the one in the middle? Am I going to make a cushion from scratch? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What I'm going to do is duplicate this cushion again. Delete half of it. In this case, I'm going to delete the soft side, the curved side. So I've just got this left behind. Make sure it's... There you go. Nice and straight. And then I'm going to just duplicate and again do the whole flip thing. Because now I've got the middle cushion. Make sure all my... Oh, that's not... So these middle bits aren't connecting, so I'm just going to carefully, there we go, that should now be merged together. And then I can replace there you go. Then I've got some couch cushions. There you go. And then I've got a lovely seat. And then I would UV that the exact same way. So all I've got different now is I've got 3 different cushions. My back section is done the exact same way. It's just going to be a lot longer, and everything else is going to be done the exact same way. It's just going to be a lot longer. That's all. But UV in this is exactly the same way that I would UV both of these. It's just a bit of a different shape. So it's that hour and 40 minutes, and we've got 2 new couches done, two seats. And obviously you can go through and do softening, hardening, all that kind of jazz. Oh, so I need to fix up this chair. So I split this up a little bit. So what I need to do is carefully combine and merge the right sections together. So first of all, I'm going to combine and merge this section together because this is actually connected physically. And then I'm going to combine and merge this bit together first because this is all one solid piece. And then I should just be able to combine the whole thing together, but not merge, because these are actually still meant to be you know, separate pieces. There you go. Now you got some lovely stuff. 3 quite attractive seats for our environments. So let's have a look at how, just before we end up, we end up. Let's have a look at how the UVs have changed for this. So this is now what's happened to the UVs. This again freaks people out. It's like, oh my god, all my UVs are destroyed. And yeah, they are destroyed a little bit, but you've still got stuff which is salvageable because we've still got these pieces. All the stuff which are like straight up duplicates. And then what's left is the new stuff we added. But really, that's only that middle section there. But how easy it is to, you know, I'm not going to go into unwrapping that because it is pretty damn easy to unwrap that. I would just go and unwrap the whole thing again, just like I did with the single seat. I'm just dealing with a double seat this time. Very cool. So with them done, that then brings us to the end of this. I'll see you in the next one.